Free Tibet! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
Tensions and mistrust often arise between members of the Tibetan and Chinese communities. This is one uniquely Canadian story about reconciling these differences through dialogue and cooperation.
The MOSAIC Institute calls itself a foreign policy think and do tank. And we're engaged in working with Canadians from all different ethnocultural communities to promote peace and be agents for peace and change around the world. And in particular, we focus on working with Canadians that have personal or family connections to conflicts that have been entrenched in different parts of the world for decades, generations in some cases.
The MOSAIC Institute's work in bringing cultural communities together to share and exchange experiences, ideas, philosophies, and ideals is an empowering step toward a greater goal of global harmony.
Before, I actually didn't have that many preconceived notions of what Tibetans living in Canada would be like. I actually hadn't met any Tibetans living in Canada before participating in this project, so it was a great way to meet Tibetans and try to understand what they thought about the issue, what they think about the issue.
I've been involved with the Tibetan cause for quite long, and it's always been from the Tibetan side rather than engaging both the communities together. So I felt this was a great opportunity for both the Tibetan communities and the Chinese communities to get together and talk about this issue.
We definitely had our own views on the China-Tibet issue, but the honesty and the friendliness of the small group discussion was undeniable. We did disagree on many things, but one thing we did all agree on at the small group discussions was that dialogue is not just an event, it's a process.
We had both steering committee members from the Chinese community and the Tibetan community, so we wanted to create an atmosphere which was neutral and which was at the same time which encourages people to talk about these difficult issues.
The great thing I thought about this project was that it brought so many young Tibetans and Chinese Canadians together to come up with a statement of values in the beginning. As a steering committee got together and started crafting a statement of values, you could see that there was, we were beginning to kind of break the ice and really start to respectfully tackle the issues that have for so long divided our communities.
It's important to have some defining structure. So for Canada, rule of law, ethnic minorities, role of women in society, and religious freedom were the main themes. That's a dialogue that's very important. It also needs to be conducted with a degree of mutual respect, with a certain amount of sympathy, and with some realism around potential results. Ultimately, Canadians have a right to expect that we can measure progress in our human rights engagement with China. This is a tough, tough issue and leads to a lot of frustration.
Perhaps someday in China, young people of Tibetan ethnicity and young people of Han ethnicity will be able to have the same activity that we're privileged to be able to have here because we're in a wonderful country.
Recognizing the role of diaspora in decision-making bodies, I think, does two things that move us away from the nationalist imaginary and take us out of the nation-state box. They recognize that our national identifications are often cross-border, and moreover that many of us belong or feel we belong to more than one nation at once, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a threat to governments. It can be a benefit.
Because in the end, I think in the theme of making peace personal, it's about human dignity. You can deliver things like healthcare and education and conservation strategies, all of that, to a community. But if it's not done with dignity, with people feeling they are heard and respected, it may not actually be sustainable.
being in a room with both people of my background. Personally, I'm a Chinese student and in Canada, as well as people with Tibetan background. You know, like being able to like sit in the same room together. You know, and like talk about like all these things. I mean, I think it's a very valuable experience, and I think it opens up my mind to a lot of things that normally I simply cannot have access to.
But the sheer fact that I even got to sit down and meet Chinese students who wanted to talk, who wanted to engage, who wanted to meet a Tibetan student like them, it was really encouraging for me, and it did sort of instill a bit of hope that there is a new generation of young Chinese students who do want to talk about Tibet, who aren't afraid to talk about Tibet, and who are making steps just like we are.
I actually enter every single section of this peace dialogue.
I actually absolutely think this was successful because I made a lot of new personal relationships that I was very happy about, and I got to really remove some of the stereotypes that were existing, I think, between the two groups, like in my own head, whether subconscious or not, from Chinese movies, from Chinese speeches that I think were removed, really, because I got to meet people.
I wasn't sure about this dialogue series, and I attended the first session extremely skeptical of how successful such a dialogue series would be, but I came across people, especially Chinese youth, who were genuinely concerned and who genuinely desired to engage and understand the issue. So as a Tibetan, that was really heartening, and that is why I think this dialogue series is a success.
If we always avoiding a problem, you can never solve any problems. So I would like to, that's why after all the sections, I really learned a lot about the other side. And I hope I can deliver some of my personal point of view of how Chinese viewing Tibet.
Some of my friends were very receptive to the idea of participating in the dialogues, and it just became a matter of having enough time to actually come to the events. But some of my other friends who have spent most of their lives in China, they were more hesitant to get involved and fearful of the consequences of getting involved.
Even though they, at the end of the dialogue series, they don't agree about the geopolitical or what is the best solution, those things are something that it's very difficult to capture within this dialogue series, but I think so it's more about knowing to understand where they stand from, empathizing with the other sides, their perspective, their history, their culture.
I think diaspora have a responsibility to educate themselves about issues in their home countries, and to be open to continuously learning about those issues and changing their opinions about the issues.
I think definitely for me the rewards of this whole working on this project has been that it gives you this faith in humanity, that you see all these people. I mean, they don't agree with one another, and they come together with these such the sense of animosity. But in the end, it's something that can be changed.
Michael and I are also members of Can Engage, an inter-community group born out of the dialogue series. Our goal for the next few months is to raise at least $10,000 for MOSAIC Canada to meet the basic educational needs of 5 rural children on the Tibetan Plateau.
We hope that by working together towards a common goal, we're sending a message that cooperation is possible, that friendship is possible, and that we can work together to bring about positive change.
One thing that I've come to realize through participating in this project is that I think really long-term sustained commitment to having opportunities, to providing opportunities similar like this one for Tibetan and Chinese youth to interact and work together, that will be really crucial to start strong relationships and common trust and understanding.